Not much activity today on Facebook.
Maybe when we get in the other, maybe that'll pick it up. I don't know.
What's that?
When we get into the slump, hump, whichever we're calling it, that might help. I don't know.
Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. I guess it didn't, whatchamacallit.
Didn't post?
No, it didn't refresh, I guess.
No.
So we did a few. No, no, I figured with your tooth hurting, I don't like to talk. I go real quiet, and so that's why I haven't bothered you.
Pain will do that to you.
No, it does me. When my tooth hurts, I go way silent, like you'd leave me alone. I'm hurting.
Yeah.
I'm like that big elephant with that little teeny weeny little piece of stick sticking in my toe. Hey, what's the guy's show called after ours? Okay.
Gonna do it, huh?
Yeah, I'll
Good
do
man.
it.
Good man.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to play with others. Well, no, and I will. I'll throw out the first olive branch. Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. B, that's about the right time to start hearing some strumming on the guitar and having that good feeling.
I mean, good feeling, strumming to the guitar, and a hot cup of steaming coffee.
Hot cup of steaming coffee.
Doesn't get better than this.
Out of a single serving Bluebell ice cream cup.
You have to use what you have.
You
know?
use what, and I'll tell you what, the guys that went overseas and fought in wars, they had to use what they had. I'll tell you,
Absolutely.
you know, it wasn't always a wine glass or a nice insulated mug, that's for sure. But I'm sure, well, welcome back, folks. It is Wednesday morning. You are with On Point with JP and Dr. B. You can find us at jpandrb.com. Visit our sponsors on that site as well. You can also find us on Facebook at JP and Dr. B, and at Twitter at JP and Dr. B as well. Let us know you're listening out there. I want to do a couple shout outs to some military folks. So again, Sergeant Ben Rangel, retired from the Marine Corps. I'd like to say hello to Armando Nunez, also retired from the Navy. Would like to say hello to Lee DeBoard out there. He's also Marine Corps retired. And a shout out to Tim Borden and Michelle Windsor Estridge. She has a husband who is retired military and a son that is a Marine. So they got to celebrate 2 days, Marine Corps birthday and Veterans Day. Tell you what. So thank you all for listening. Jeff Hensley out there, he's listening in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Thank you for tuning in. And Felicia Witt, thank you for tuning in. Wow, Dr. B.
Lots of people listening, and we're thankful for that, and lots of people honoring veterans today. And so, you know, one of the things I want to mention real quick, JP, before we go to Lori, is the Veterans Day parades. There's one in Fort Worth that'll begin at 9:30, or I'm sorry, step-off time is 10:30. The opening ceremony is at 11 a.m., and that's in Sundance Square. So if you have an opportunity to go see that parade, that'll be great. In Dallas, the 2015 Veterans Day Parade is downtown, of course, and the massing of the colors at the 11th hour ceremony in front of City Hall, and the parade will commence following the official ceremony, approximately 1 hour. It'll start at Reunion Arena, proceed north on Houston Street, east on Main Street, south on Irvay, west on Young, south on Ackerd Street, and pass in review in front of the City Hall. Also, I noticed that there will be military vehicles and equipment, veterans organizations, civic and corporate displays will be available for viewing at 9:30 a.m. in front of City Hall, and then it'll be taken, of course, down after the parade. So another opportunity to get out there, things to see.
Things to see on Veterans Day. So get on down to Dallas. Also like to say hello to Dale McLean. He is out on current active duty with the Navy. Thank you for your service, Dale, and thank you for tuning into us. He tunes into us from his TuneIn app.
All right.
Isn't that great?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. That's what I say. Well, Dr. B, I'll tell you what. Truancy Court has kicked in, and the new truant conduct law, it put a delay on everything. Normally we would be seeing cases come in pretty consistently, but because of the new truant conduct law, the school district's trying to figure out, okay, exactly how do we do this? And they figured it out. In the first week, we've already had over 150 cases filed. The absences that have accumulated are over 25. I mean, on average, I'm looking at 25, 30 unexcused absences. And it's kind of scary. And what I find is a lot of these kids, it's not just as simple as, hey, I want to go out and go fishing and I don't want to go to school.
Right, there are probably a lot of reasons for them to not want to go to school, and some may be legitimate. I mean, maybe illness in the family, that they're taking care of parents, but often it's just they are not motivated to do the work and to be involved in the learning process. And, you know, we can take responsibility for that on another level as parents, and I love teachers. I married one, but, you know, even educators have to look at what are we doing to encourage students to stay in school.
Absolutely. And so before we jump into that, let's find an inspirational thought for them, because as Lori says, the choice, as always, is yours. And so if any students are listening to us, realize that the choice, as always, is yours. And so inspire us, Lori. All right. Well, I think that's pretty darn inspirational.
It is, and you know, one of the exciting things in my field, in the field of counseling and psychology, is years ago we only looked at the bad issues, and now there's a big emphasis on positiveness and looking at the positive aspects of life. So we call it positive psychology, and we want to encourage people that if their lives are not positive, there are ways to change your thought process and look at different things. So New Directions is a good place to go at newdirectionscounseling.com and make an appointment. Come see one of our counselors.
And get some help and help get yourself pulled up out of that negative pool that you may have found yourself in. And you know, Dr. B, one of the things that I have found is that there's a lot of things that contribute to that. And you know, kids, they have things that impact them more so than what we did when we were kids, because our social media was going outside in the front to play. That was our social media. I remember standing up on the sidewalk and yelling down the street to see if my friend could come out to play. And I think that that was probably the first Facebook that probably existed, was that kind of social media. Whereas nowadays kids have all of these things that are bombarding them from all different directions, and the pressures that go with having all these things. How on earth can a child stay focused on his schoolwork when he has all these outside pressures and all these peer pressures that come from so many different other directions?
Well, that's absolutely true. I was just having to think that, you know, we talk about giving a shout out to people once in a while, and we mean that on the radio. Back in your day, it was literal, huh?
It was literal.
But yeah, there are so many things that are vying for the attention of our adolescents and our children, and it makes it difficult for them to keep up and keep motivated. In fact, you know, again, when in talking about why there might be a slump instead of the hump that we need to look at, there are some reasons for that. One is that as the school year starts, it's kind of a review of a little bit of stuff from last year, and so it's a little bit easier. And then as they get into this part of the semester, the work gets a little bit harder. It's a little more challenging to the students. So that's one thing that kind of can be discouraging, especially if they don't understand. And I do know that most schools and most teachers that I've ever talked to are more than willing to talk to the student and try to help them if they don't understand a concept. You know, go to the teacher and ask them about help. Another reason I think for the slump may be that the students get tired. Going to school all day is just like you or I going to work all day and having to sit in an office or do whatever job we have for 6 hours or more, and it gets tiring on those students, so they're tired. And so we need to look at that as well. And not only do the students get tired, the teachers get tired. Lots of activities. So.
Lots of humanism in the middle of
That's
all that,
right.
isn't it? I mean,
That's
lots
right.
of humanism. And when we come back, we're going to talk about maybe some techniques that you can use to overcome that slump hump of the middle of the semester, both as a teacher and a student. And I want to mention real quick before we get into that after the next break, I want to talk a little bit about my experience with some students who start the semester off gangbusters, and then all of a sudden they just disappear by November the 5th. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we can help you get your kiddos over the hump, and maybe some suggestions that may help your teachers even get over that hump as well. So stay tuned as we come back with On Point with JP and Dr. B. I think
Talked about it yet.
I haven't really talked about it yet. Probably going to stay home. I'm thinking show-wise, I've been thinking a ton about what I want. I'm trying to think if there's something like a 24-day something or another, or 25 days of this, or 25 days of holiday. I'm trying to think of something to come up with that'll carry us through the middle of December. So especially surrounding your idea of bringing different retailers in at different times and talk about family values, what they have to offer over the season. I might want to ask them, you know, how do you encourage your shoppers to spend responsibly so they don't put themselves in a hole, kind of thing. So
think we need to either pre-record one or on Friday in particular, we might